Growing up, I really didn't like where I was from. What is up, guys? My name's Wesley. Welcome to my channel here on YouTube.com. This website where they'll let pretty much anyone upload, well, I guess whatever they want. Today, I have an exciting book to review. We're going to be going over my review of the Webster's Universal College Dictionary, where words and meanings come alive. So, I'm absolutely just kidding. Instead, we're going to talk about Mark Twain, hopefully a little bit more exciting than that. In particular, we're going to talk about one of his earliest published works. We'll not be talking about Huck Finn or Tom Sawyer. We're going to be talking about the celebrated jumping frog of Calaveras County. So, my relation to my hometown, I actually really liked where I was from. My hometown's pretty wonderful. It was when I got out of that place specifically that I started to not really like the state that I'm from. I'm from Alabama, in particular like the Birmingham area, and there's a lot of stigma I feel like surrounding the South. Everything I saw online in movies, TV, heard the people that I liked on those mediums say, made me think there wasn't a lot going on here. You know, this is the birthplace of the Confederacy, and in some places that's kind of still alive. Their entire town's dedicated to like white flight, and there's this kind of notion that everyone's kind of backwoods and ignores science or whatever. The South never really seemed like something to celebrate to me growing up, and plus it just kind of felt dirty when you got outside of like the Birmingham area. That's kind of like why I liked where I am from, because it felt like it was like the Midwest. We had interstates, you know, whole neighborhoods, shopping centers. There's a whole downtown in Birmingham that feels pretty progressive and kind of has a vibe sometimes of like trying to get away from this town. You know what I mean? This is stupid. So, I think my relationship to my hometown is what kind of drew me to Mark Twain. Everything that he does is kind of a celebration of heritage. He celebrated his hometown of Missouri, not like any other authors I can really think of. He didn't shy away from the uniqueness of his town, the like gritty or dirtiness as I would have called it. He embraced it. So many of his characters are so unique and only fit in the particular settings that they're given, whether it's the South or the West or somewhere completely unrelated, all the way back to his earliest writings. Everyone knows pretty much everything there is to know about like the great American novel, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. And if you don't know about those things, you can,
Hey, use Wikipedia.
So, from those earliest works, let me try to convince you to read The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County. So yeah, the story itself. It revolves around our narrator being sent by a friend to interview one Simon Wheeler out west in Calaveras County in search of one Leonidas W. Smiley. When the narrator finally does meet Simon, Simon can't remember any Leonidas W. Smiley, but he'll tell you all day about Jim Smiley. Jim Smiley has absolutely nothing to do with Leonidas, but that doesn't stop him. Simon tells us all day about the exploits of Jim, who was kind of a gambler, kind of this... So, bet you can't beat him up. Basically, rig bets so that they were still technically fair, but that people would only take them because it looked like he would lose. He would train a dog, or he would train a horse, and ultimately a frog, of course, to look like they were about to lose the bet, and then at the last second just kind of push through. Well, a stranger comes to town, and Jim decides to bet him that his frog can jump farther than any other frog in Calaveras County. The man takes the $40 wager, and 1865 money is some amount that I'm not sure what it translates to these days. But he sets down his jumping frog and goes to get another frog for the stranger. While Jim is gone, the stranger picks up his frog and fills it with lead quail shot. So the ending of the story makes an interesting statement because it just kind of Peter's off. The stranger wins the bet because he cheated. He loaded down the other frog with shot and kind of gets away before Jim knows what's going on. We never learn anything about Leonidas W. Smiley. We never know exactly why the man from the east is out west looking for Leonidas. But what we do have is a wonderful cast of characters and some great dialect and some wonderful dialogue, done within that dialect that I wish I could do justice, and despite my obvious ability to act. So now that I've basically told you the whole story, what's the point? Well, the story itself is really interesting, and a lot of the comedy and a lot of the fun comes from the dialogue itself, like I mentioned. And one of the major themes that runs throughout this and a lot of the other short stories is just kind of the cultural differences. Since all we have are these characters, we're forced to look at them as kind of the main point of the story. This is just a celebration of who these people are. And that got me thinking about my hometown again. I don't need to be so quick to write off Alabama as just this terrible, awful place of no good and backwoods and dirty people. Because, even people with their flaws have stories to tell. One of my professors likes to call Alabama like the exotic South. Other places, there's just not quite a culture like it. And instead of spending time wishing I was other places, I can kind of take a page from Twain's book and really appreciate this place and all its beauty that's different from other places. I don't need to wish that it's like other places. Sometimes I can just sit back and, enjoy the show a little bit. Hey, once again, my name's Wesley. Thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. This concludes my review of the Bathroom Sports Quiz Book, Bowl Games for the Sports Buff by the Bathroom Library, trademark. Hey, maybe you learned something about Mark Twain today. Maybe you learned a new way to appreciate your hometown. Maybe you just want to go read some of these stories because they're kind of fun and they don't take a long time to read. Either way, hey, thanks for watching. You know what? Maybe there are some wonderful characters and things to appreciate about this place.